Good afternoon once again. Thank you all for joining in for today's webinar. Topic for today's webinar is business reporting, as you all see on my screen here. And today's webinar is not accredited for any CPD credits. However, it's pretty interesting to know more about reporting, and it's going to contain both compliance part and the business reporting aspect of it. So I'm going to be walking you all through the high-level reporting first to get started with an agenda to understand what is it that we're going to see in today's webinar. Before I get into the agenda and proceed, I'd like to let you all know that if you're having any trouble hearing me, I request you all to join the webinar using phone. I'll be happy to share the webinar coordinates here on the chat window. Please do let us know if you're having any trouble hearing us, and I can definitely try to check my mic, or I recommend you all to join using the phone coordinates that I'm entering here. Please check this chat window and join using the phone for better audio quality. Also would like to reiterate once again that today's webinar is not accredited to any CPD credits, but kindly stay here and we get to know more about business reporting. Any questions, please enter it in the chat window, and we'll be happy to assist you towards the end of the session. All right, so if no issues, I'd like to have one of you enter on the chat if you're able to hear me well. It would be great. Thank you. All right, so like I already mentioned while I began, the topic for today's webinar is business reporting. And we're going to talk about various reporting capabilities that uLaw consists of and that uLaw is able to generate. We're going to basically divide or bifurcate these reports into certain menu options, like there are several menu options available in uLaw, and we could say report levels that's available in uLaw. And we start with contact being one of the most basic to do when it comes to using uLaw, as you need to have clients and their contact details to open files or matter and add their accounting information, and it goes on like that. So contact being the basic step to get started with using the program. We're going to definitely see what are the contact level reports that are going to be probably helpful for you, something like source of contact and conflict check, etc. And it moves on to matter level reports, matter or file, where you get to also see a specific detail about the client's matter, the activity that takes place in that specific file, whether there's any balance in trust or general, how do we generate reports, and what are these reports named as in the program. That would help you gather information to either give it to the client or use it for your insights, or sometimes to even Law Society. And as we see matter, which also includes accounting, so we would also be seeing some accounting level reports, which are, again, further bifurcated into law society reports, as well as your year-end reports, which are more for your business, taxes, etc. As we proceed further, we're going to look into calendar reports. I know we all use calendar for our day-to-day meetings and scratchpad purposes, but there are reports way beyond what we see on top view of the calendar. But if you probably drill down into a calendar with a small drop-down icon beside it, you get to see all necessary reports that you need to know from a business owner or a sole proprietor point of view to understand what would be the time spent by you on a specific file, or a time spent by your assistant or a coworker if it's a partnership firm. So there are various reports besides monthly agendas and work in progress, understanding what is the timesheet has to tell you, and so on and so forth. So we're definitely going to look at certain reports that are not just journals, that are not just ledgers, way beyond it, that makes sense, that gives a lot of meaning, and that helps you to plan your business better, that helps you to understand where you stand in your business, and helps you take decisions, most important of all. So if you would ask me, I would say if compliance report or a certain level of importance, or it carries certain level of importance, or let's put it this way, it probably has the highest level of importance from, I know, from the aspect of law society compliance. We all are probably using a program like uLaw, or trying to use a program like uLaw is one thing, because we want to keep ourselves compliant. But on the other hand, I also feel it's equally important to know where you stand in terms of your business, where you stand in terms of your day-to-day activities, like, knowing what would be the time spent, what would be your monthly agendas, what are your work in progress reports, whether you have any unbilled set of files, and what is the progress in those specific matters or files. So business reporting is as important as compliance reporting would be, and I think it's probably high time we all give equal importance to business reporting, and try and generate, because uLaw has over 30 to 40 reports that would help you deep dive into the data, understand the analytics, and help you take action. Okay, so we're going to see this in a nutshell. Basically, these few points under agenda that we're going to see, right from contact level to analytics, accounting, etc. We're going to see all those reports that's going to be helpful for your business reporting. Starting with contact level reports, like I already said, this is one of the most basic that we do in the program, or that is rather done in the program. And when you take contact, it's very important to know if there's a client who reaches out to you over phone or walks into your office. When they're doing a client intake form, I'm sure you all have noticed this field in uLaw that says source of contact. Now, many might wonder why would uLaw want to know the source of contact? It's not us, it's Law Society. The Law Society basically wants to know the source of contact. They believe how this client reached out to you is very important. And if you ask me from a business standpoint, it is equally important to know the source of contact of this client of yours or prospective client of yours, because at the end of the day, you would like to know how your marketing reached out to the client, whether it was probably one of your Google ads or it was a social media poster that you had made, or maybe a word of mouth through your friends, family. Would like to understand where your money is being spent or your energy is being absorbed or utilized, channelized well into. So source of contact is definitely one of the most important reports for you to generate from the standpoint of business reporting when it comes to contact. And moving on, you see client feedback. So client feedback is going to give you an overall picture of what is the money that you have received from the client, what have you invoiced, are there any client outstanding or, any pending payment from the client. So feedback is definitely going to show you certain high-level information of what this client's file has in terms of is being charged or has an outstanding in terms of their fees, their legal fees. And the third report, which again is pretty, important or catches your eye, is contact list. We will be seeing this over the demo as I switch from the presentation mode to demo mode. I'm definitely going to be walking you all through the importance of each of these reports. And when you have questions, I'd be happy to take it on the chat. And if you find anything not explained or if you need further explanation, I request you to, again, enter it in the chat. I would either try to take it in the end if I have time, or I would reach out to you over email. Awesome. So moving on to next level of reporting is matter level of reporting. In matter, we have mostly, I think, which we cannot ignore are certain things that are based on like invoices, receipts, and maybe a few other things like trust reports or like any other compliance report like client ID verification, etc. So there are other reports also that add meaning to your matter activity or the file activity that takes place. And one such report is definitely statement of activity. So I've myself witnessed a few of our clients reaching out to support and asking, hey Gayatri, I'm not too sure what's happening in this matter. I see an amount as projected balance on the top, and then I see a different amount in the trust tab, and it's slightly confusing to certain people, which I understand because numbers are always a little tricky part, right? We all get a little paranoid with numbers, but I think each of these sections or menu has enough documents that you can generate and that explains clearly what is the money you get from the client or you've got from the client so far, and what is being charged to them as legal fee, what is probably charged to them as disbursements so far, and so on and so forth. You have plenty of I would say points to note down for each aspect of billing, but everything is captured in documents like statement of activity. And very recently now uLaw has introduced something called settlement statement plus accounts. We always had settlement statement and statement of activity, but now we have something called settlement statement plus accounts, which gives a big picture or a bigger picture of what's happening in this matter. So if you ask me personally, I would say matter level reports doesn't always stop with what is under compliance or what is under, invoice tab or receipt tab, etc. It needs to be drilled down further. Each of your matter has document generation tab on the right-hand side. I request you all to explore that a little bit to see reports like, timesheets, timeline reports. If you're a legal aid, if you consult through legal aid, you have legal aid reports. So there are tons of these reports that's available with bill of cost, understanding what is the cost to you or your company or your firm, and what is your profit margin, etc. Everything is shown under these matter level reports. So I would highly recommend you all to give it a glance, and I am definitely going to show you all of this when we jump into the demo mode, okay? So the next one, once we've added contacts, once we've added or opened matter or file, the next part is accounting, because you need to record how much money was received from the client, what was charged to them as part of legal fees or disbursement, and that is basically what was invoiced to them, and that is also known as AR because this is what you're receiving from the client. And there's many more aspects of billing that would be nice to know, because end of the day, again, it's not just numbers. It's further beyond it. It's called insights. You'd like to know reason behind what is this charge that was made, or what was the profit, what was the loss, what was the difference between your expenses charged to the client versus what was being recovered from them, so on and so forth. Again, I could give you an endless list. It's pretty exhaustive, but I think there are a few reports that are definitely helpful for you, like the ones you see on the screen here, like beyond your trust ledger and general ledger. There are reports like your HST reports, trial balance, revenue reports, expense summary, and fee book, AR balances, knowing what the clients owe you and what you owe to your vendors, AP. And, there are tons of these reports that could bring a new meaning to your firm. And again, I highly recommend you to explore the document generation tab in each of these menu options that we just discussed. There's document generation in contact, there's document generation in matter level report, in quick view, in matters, and calendar. So out of 7 menu options that you see on the left-hand side of your screen, starting with dashboard, ending with analytics, I think the 5 of them in between these two definitely contain the document generation tab. Beyond accounts, we are also seeing calendar, where you get to know the timesheet of each of your employee or your coworker, understanding where they have channelized their effort into, how time is being spent, and also you get to know the revenue summary and work in progress report mainly, because these are helpful when you're a growing firm and you'd like to understand how your efforts and your team's efforts are being channelized into, especially when it comes to, reports like timesheet. You get to know what your assistant or coworker has been doing the whole of last month, how the revenue has been generated, and what are certain things to accomplish by looking at a WIP or a work in progress report, because there are certain things that are unbilled or that are left hanging that you'd like to attend to. And by looking at a WIP or a work in progress report, you're going to be able to accomplish things in a much more streamlined manner. So I would again recommend you to explore these calendar reports. These are available right beneath or beside the calendar, a tiny little drop down, and you would get to see all these calendar reports under it. Again, I'm going to showcase you all this while we are on the platform, so do not worry or do not leave puzzled. We are going to see that in probably less than 10 minutes. Now, moving on to the next slide that I have here, talks about things beyond just contacts or adding clients and opening files or matter and doing accounting, because these are certain tasks that we don't fail to do, because we are probably doing this in monotonous way when a client reaches out to you and a file is being assigned to you, and you are into obviously accounting too, because you have to bill the client, so on and so forth. But there are certain things like dashboard and analytics, which brings more meaning to your business, which gives you client analytics, matter analytics, and also allows you to understand insights provided by the data and certain other interesting facts that you get to know about your own firm, which would be underlying. But with these notifications that you are affiliate seeing on your screen, once you log into uLaw, with a tiny bell icon in the right bottom corner, it is a little annoying. Most of the times I get a lot of feedback saying, hey Gayatri, is there a way I could turn this off, or I could just get rid of it completely? And then I go about explaining to people why is it important to have it. I do know that it's sometimes bothering, but we have given you an option to turn it off. So if you click on the bell symbol at the bottom, it is going to turn red and it's going to be turned off until you finish your work. But promise me you're going to go back and turn it on. So you are trying to introduce these features so that it saves a lot of time for you to go back and drill down into the features. Excuse me. So you're probably not having to look at several reports, but these notifications are going to help you probably within less than a minute. You're going to see what are these reports about your expenditures, your invoice balances, your probably some outstanding from your clients who has not paid in last 45 days. So these notifications are just going to help you save some time. And, probably on a Friday evening, when you're winding down your business for the week, you have maybe 10, 15 minutes. Leave it on. Keep doing some other work that it's not going to bother you. And there's going to be a lot of insights on the go for you, and also sometimes interesting facts, and allows you to understand what's happening in your business or firm of late. So I highly recommend you not to get rid of that bell symbol or a bell icon with the notification pop-up. Just temporarily turn it off when it's bothering you doing some important work, and then do turn it on so that you have a lot of insights going on from it. All right, so as we saw a few important information in the last 30 minutes, I'd like to take a quick break or pause here for a moment to ask if you all have any questions or if you have any feedback from what we have discussed in the last 25 minutes, just excuse me, apologize. I'm having some sore throat issues today, but I'm sure I'm going to make the program a little better in the last 25 minutes or in the next 25 minutes. If you have any questions, please do enter it on the chat. Excuse me. And we're going to see how all of these reports are being generated from the next 25, 30 minutes of the demo that I'm going to be doing. I request you all to sign up for a free trial if you're not currently using the program, if you're in this webinar through your friend or through word of mouth again. Feel free to sign up for the free trial. Go on to our website, uLaw.io, and you can start a free trial and do book your demo with us, and we'll be happy to walk you through the program. All right, now I'm quickly jumping into my fictitious account. It's a playground account. Yeah, I have a question here already about client portal. Bruce, thank you so much for sharing your question here. It's going to be a little off the topic. I do have a topic coming up, or a webinar coming up on this topic rather. But just to briefly tell you, there's no harm, everyone would benefit. Client portal is nothing but it's an online way to intake client. You got to go into settings to set up your client portal, and you would be able to integrate with uLaw client portal, and you will be able to intake a client by directly sending them a link from uLaw when you click on email, client, and yourself. You just have to make sure to give a secret key under settings, and you would be able to activate the client portal and send your client a link to do an online intake, and that automatically comes up here under clients. All right. I hope that answers your question, but if not, I'm going to probably give you a call and explain it better after this webinar. Thank you. All right, so we're going to see quickly these reports that we discussed in the last 25 minutes. And, we're going to see how helpful it is for you. So we just discussed about these notifications. If you see, when I've turned it off because I'm doing a webinar and I didn't want this to bother you all in the next few minutes. So I left it turned off for a few minutes or a couple hours when I'm doing some stuff. And then I make sure to turn it on so that these notifications might help you with making certain decisions. You see some invoice not being paid, or some invoice is pending for more than 40, 45 days. It shows up on the pop-up and you immediately get, it's more like a reminder. You are immediately reminded of sending your client a reminder. So basically, we are helping you take some action, okay? So you have almost 122 number of active matters so far fully invoiced in your firm. So that's nice to know, right? That's pretty good a number. You're happy, you see, okay, I have about 200 files, of them 102 are completely invoiced. That provokes a thought in you. So do you have to probably go into those matters to close them all, make sure it's closed, send the client a closing letter if you have to. So these are certain things that I would give some importance to, at least as much as I do give importance to Law Society complaints. So these are all business reports. Make sure that you make best use of them. Okay, so now quickly starting with contacts, even though it starts with dashboard, but we have a different webinar that talks about analytics and dashboards. So I'm going to do more about reporting. So I start with contacts that we already spoke about. And in contacts, we have document generation, where you can either generate these documents for business reporting from compliance, like conflict check, source of contact, aging report, or client fee book. So we all know conflict check. We are very familiar with conflict check, but I would like to show you source of contact because there is a tendency to miss source of contact pretty often. So I'm going to show you source of contact. In the meantime, I'll show you how it works. Let's take, for example, Adrian Mike here and see whether his source of contact is being entered. And you see it has been entered as internet advertising. So just to ensure it's being entered, go to document generation, or there's a new complaints tab right on the top of your client's name. Do click on it and go to source of contact. Let's say you want to do it for a date range, which is spanning from beginning of this week, just to ensure all the contacts that you have added in the past 5 days has been categorized with a source of contact field. If not, you're going to go further and check each of the contacts that you've added in the past 5 days and categorize them. So in the past 5 days, we've added a few contacts, of which 5 of them are not categorized. So you go down to see who are these non-categorized clients. So you even have a name. Of course, you have their entire details, but you have the name, which is more important. So I go back into the program, quickly check or look up for this. So I would highly recommend doing this every week so that you are not left with a bulk action to take, but you're at least going to end up doing this every week and make sure you're on top of it. So I just found that Mark Xavier is not being categorized. So just go into edit and make sure I add the details of source of contact. And that way, when I generate the document again, you would now see that the source of contact report for this week, starting, let's say, 1st August to 5th August, is not carrying Mark Xavier's name anymore. It went from 4 not categorized to 1 advertisement, which is Mark Xavier that I just moved. So if you go down now, you see that the list doesn't have Mark Xavier's name. It only has other 4 people's name. So that is the level of reporting uLaw does. So I highly recommend you all to take a look at the source of contact and update it if it's not too late to do it. I would just say, please take some time and do it. By the way, this is not just a business reporting to understand whether, you've had more clients from internet advertising or whether you've had more clients from your friend of friend, like a word of mouth, but it also gives you the importance from Law Society aspect of it because it is a Law Society compliance document. So do give it some time to make sure everything is entered properly and you're able to generate the source of contact report for all. Moving further, I'm going to talk about the client fee book quickly. Under document generation, again, under complaints or under reports, you have both the places, the client fee book, and you could either just quickly view it or you could also make sure to download a report. So it generates report for the client who you are in at the moment. So I'm generating client fee book for Mark Xavier. So far, I've invoiced Mark Xavier for this much amount, and he has paid the entire amount. There's no invoice balance. There's no balance owed. So everything is good, clean. So you could, in fact, go into Matter and make sure everything is good here. Quickly look at this little question mark that's called Matter Analytics. Make sure nothing is here. And if everything is good, why even have it open? Just go ahead and close it. So it gives you a sense of feeling that you are done with this client matter And maybe next time the client comes for red light ticket or something, you would just have to click on action and open a new matter. That's it. So it's as simple as that. So sometimes categorizing and looking at documents that you need to generate way beyond compliance is to ensure a smooth, transition or business that it's going to help you understand things better. Definitely, right? So moving on, other than client fee book, source of contact, we also have other documents that are definitely important, like client invoice list, timesheets. You get to understand for the last 1 week what has been the timesheet for these specific files that you have worked on, and you get to understand what with the date, with the estimated hours and the billable hours, and whether these rates are for your new rates or old rates, and overall billing, billable hours, etc. So please make use of more documents that's available in here, other than always just doing a conflict check and, keeping it in your file or folder for Law Society purpose of it. Moving further down, we have quick view. Like I already mentioned, all of these 5 tabs in the center, starting with contacts, ending with calendar, these 5 tabs that's sandwiched between probably dashboard and analytics. All these 5 tabs has document generation. If you see, contacts had, quick view had, matters had, accounts have. Calendar doesn't have document generation tab as such, but if you look into it closely, there's a tiny little button or a drop down menu, and that again has action with drop down. You go down, you get to see all these timesheets and revenue generated by employee, time-wise, docket range-wise, date-wise. You have definitely more than what you think there is when you generate these documents. So going back into quick view document generation, one of my favorite reports, and one such report which is definitely going to help you take some action, because the whole point of business reporting is to understand what's happening in your firm and take action. So when you look at work in progress report, you're going to see what are certain billable, maybe items or events that has not yet been billed, that are probably left under work in progress, and you get to see that, wow, good, there's nothing here, but if you just want to make sure there's nothing in the whole date range, just leave it for specific year, and for this entire year, has there been any WIP so far that has not been billed? I'm sure if there's nothing, then you have done a good job of ensuring you're on top of all these files and billed all your clients, and the data has been appropriately, taken action with. Wow, looks like I've reached the maximum of my Adobe limit. I'd like to close a few documents because I know the next 20 minutes I'm going to show you at least 10 documents. So let's go back in here and download this once again. So I'd like to show you if there's any work in progress. You can also see it as under show only for this month, just to ensure again there's no unbilled hours. So everything has been billed and you're all good. Excuse me. Further beyond that, you also have invoices pending, where you can go in and make sure that you are able to raise a report for the month of August and download the report to ensure there's any invoices pending. So this gives you matters with pending invoices. It also gives you what was your previous billed amount, pending bills, if anything, $0, and total billable. So which means that all your invoices are being completed. However, they're left with some balance. These invoices aren't either paid, or if the money is there in the trust, it's not being transferred yet. All right. So this last line item very clearly shows you that for this particular file, the total invoiced amount was this, $836.20. This $1,000 deposited, 500 withdrawn so far, and there's 500 sitting in trust. So you could move the 500 and get the remaining $336.20 from the client into the general account. So that's the level of analytics that goes in. And you could also take bulk actions. This is not part of business reporting, but just letting you know, since we are on this tab, if you see there are any of these files that's not either active or that probably needs to be archived, you can take bulk closure action to either close the files between certain dates that you know you've opened. You can see the date creation of dates here. You can do all that you've created in July and say you would like to close it or archive it respectively. So those are the details with regards to quick view. Quickly moving on to Matter, I'm going to see if I could show you an example of Matter analytics. So let's say I'll take a file named Marcross. Thankfully, there's invoice pending in here. So you get to see what are the probably items that's unbilled when you are able to do a preview, and then you complete the invoice. And once you complete the invoice, you're able to make or take an action in order to move the funds from trust to general. So we all are very familiar with it. And there are some reports that's associated while taking these actions. You are generating an invoice, you're generating probably a trust transfer report when you want to do the trust transfer, which is also known as Form 9A familiarly, and you're able to print the Form 9A report, download it, and it goes on with all the other details. I have a question here asking, can we do yearly revenue and expenses for business tax purpose? Of course, I'm right now in Matters, Bruce. In another 5 minutes, I'm going to be coming into accounts, and I'm going to be showing you how the business taxes are going to be shown, or for the purpose of revenue and expense report. I'm going to be definitely showing you that in another 5 minutes. In the meantime, talking about Matter report, Matter level report rather, there are definitely way beyond invoice generation or receipt generation or getting them to the clients. They are way more than just that. Like I already said, there are things like settlement statements, trust plus general journals or ledgers, and you have legal aid statements and bill of cost statement of activity. These are 4 or 5 reports that we saw when we were doing the presentation. And these Matter level reports help you as well as your client understand what's happening in their file. For example, the trust plus general is very nice to have them. It's a very recent report. It tells you very clearly what was got into the trust, what was probably withdrawn from trust so far. And when you raise an invoice, it goes as an AR or an outstanding to be received from the client. So when you go to the bottom, you would know that what is balance owed by the client and what is the balance in trust accounts so far. So there are reports just to help you understand and the clients understand than just complaints for Law Society. There are retainer letters. These are, of course, complaints documents or letters. They're not reports. But if you consider it as a report, yes, you can generate these letters too. If you ask me, I would say one of the most important of all here is something called non-engagement letter, which helps you, share the document with the client, or probably a ghost client who never engaged you into services, but you still want to make sure to share a non-engagement letter with them and ensure that you are very clear with no engagement with this prospective client or ghost client. Okay, so please do look into the statements tab here, as well as the document generation. The reports under it specifically has more than just quote forms and complaints. It has quite a few like timesheets and legal aid reports and other statements that talks about settlement plus accounts. Gives you an overall picture of what has been billed so far, what has been received so far, and what is pending from the client, and what have you transferred from trust to general, so on and so forth. So do explore these documents under matters. For further information, feel free to email us on support@uLawPractice.com, and we'll be happy to assist you. Moving on to the last two tabs, accounting, very, very important. Even though contacts, quick view, matter, everything is done, I think this is one section or menu option where many decisions are taken. Before I proceed, I just would like to quickly answer one of the questions that we had. Bruce, yes, we do have revenue and expense report for the purpose of taxes. It's all available under document generation. Under reports, we have balance sheet, we have trial balance, we have revenue report. You can do detail or for a date range for a specific month. Let's say for the month of July, you're able to do an income statement or a revenue report. Understand what has been your revenue generated from each of these area of practices and how much disbursements were recovered from the client. So even though they come under revenue, but they are recovery of expenses because they dispersed before you recovered them. And you have also expense reports. Again, you can do the same date range or detailed range and get an idea of expense category wise, like how much was for office expenses, how much out of it was client expenses, whether anything was, there for consultancy revenue or expenses, like you've spent anything on a third-party consultancy, or even, for example, you've paid to a tax consultant to make your year-end taxes. How have you recorded that? So that is one reason when we have chance to tell people that it is important to record your expenditures under respective categories. Now, you might not find all categories under your office expenses. If you don't find, please go ahead and add new account under expenses, office expenses, and add a new account name to it. So don't just put them all under miscellaneous. When you generate a report like this, there won't be uLaw monthly subscription. There won't be a coffee account. There won't be probably travel or office supplies. It'll all be under miscellaneous. So try to add categories. Try to be more disciplined with adding these expenditures under the respective categories. Moving further, there are other documents under reports that provides invoice balance, that provides your discounts and write-offs, and any reports on how much capital you've invested, how much drawings you've done this week. Just go into simply drawings and week, and you know what has been withdrawn. So you have not withdrawn anything, so that's good. But if you want to see, I mean, it's good in a sense, you have that information on your hand that way. So you know every week what has been withdrawn from your account and other details. So there are other things like your aging analysis. I don't know how many of you use this aging analysis, but I find it really helpful to understand how much my client owes me and how much I owe to any vendor when I'm doing AR and AP respectively. It gives a big picture of any outstanding, and I'm able to follow up with the client and make a decision accordingly. While that report is being generated, please make sure that you are exploring this document generation tab to understand all those that are statements and reports that are available. So to make your year-end taxes, probably you're going to need reports like that. The first 5 on the top, which is balance sheet, trial balance, revenue report, expense report, and profit and loss. Most of the times your accountants are going to need this or your auditors are going to need this. Please do make sure that you're going to be able to, you know how to generate these reports and you're able to provide this to the respective professionals. Lastly, but definitely not the least, we do have some tax reports here under taxes and for your respective province. If you're in Ontario, you can generate these HST reports for every quarter if you're making the payment. So it shows you the previous quarter, what do you have to make the payment by end of September. It gives you exactly the report on the HST paid and HST received so far. So you have all the details of your HST outstanding over here. Okay? So that's about accounts. Make sure you're very clear about what you would like to do when it comes to accounting information, whether you'd like to generate any tax reports or you'd like to generate any profit and loss to see how your company is doing this year when compared to previous year, or whether you'd like to understand if there's any outstanding from the client. I'd like to do the aging receivables, which I just finished doing. And you see the previous one is the aging report for all clients. So these are probably the balance owed as on the last 6 months. And they've been outstanding. So you know that all the outstanding are here, and you get to basically know how much is being owed by each of these clients. All right. So proceeding further to the last part of the topic is reporting under calendar. So there is no separate document generation, but other than just seeing your agenda for the week or for the day or for the month, there is much more than that, where you have reports under the specific drop down, and you get to see the revenue report by employee, category wise. In fact, you know whether it's date range wise or invoice wise. Each of these employee, you can do even docket range wise. If there have been several employee, you know that if they're being added and what are the dockets for their respective work. So you get to know whether the employee of yours has actually spent that time under that specific client or matter, and you can definitely assess the time spent on it. Like if you come down here, you know this specific client has docketed today, this specific employee of yours has docketed today for these clients that you see here for Perry Samuel, this employee of yours has recorded dockets worth these many hours. So calendar does provide you a drill down version of timesheet, revenue generated docket wise, invoice wise, date range wise, and you also have timesheet by employee and timesheet that would give you information in regards to how many hours was spent by this employee today, with the employee's name on the top, followed by the date, and even in fact which client they worked on or which file they worked on. And lastly, there are many of these client summary reports that would be helpful for you to understand whether the client has made any payment or anything is pending, and how many hours has been non-billed, and total estimate of hours. So please do take a look at these reports that's available in the calendar section. And lastly, analytics. And there are about 6 widgets that's available in here. I request you all to try it out with something that you would like to fetch information or probably understand details. You can definitely check it out and see what has been the revenue, the expense, any profit or loss, and fee book, what has been the fees that you charge to the client today, expenses, and if any unbilled hours, you also know that. You also have different modes. You get to see it in pie chart mode or table or diagram. You could bar diagram, or you could choose the method that you'd like to see. These are not typically generated as reports, but these are generated as information under analytics. So it forms part of business reporting in analytical form. So it's for your further insights. I do request you all to take a look at it, play around a little bit when you get time, and probably these are some on-the-go information for you to take some action and get benefited from it. We're almost left with last 2 minutes of today's webinar. I would like to complete the session today saying I hope you all benefited from today's session, and please make the best use of reporting tools that's available, or document generation that's available in each of these sections. That's going to be definitely a lot more useful than we all think it is. And don't even ignore the smallest detail, and try to make the best use of available resources, because end of the day, we have planned this program in such a way that is going to benefit you from a business standpoint as well as from a law society compliance aspect of it. So thank you all once again for attending today's session. I hope there were some takeaway points, and I'll open the floor for any questions. I'll wait here for another 5 minutes. In the meantime, my colleague is going to be sharing some important links on the chat window. And I request you all to take a quick look at it, and do let us know if you have any questions. And I have an important link to share, important news to give you all. uLaw has been nominated for Canadian Lawyers magazines for under few of these categories like Reader's Choice and favorite category that you're going to be probably nominating or voting for us under. So I have a link here that you all have a chance to win up to 6 gift cards at Starbucks worth $25 each. It's not the money, but it's probably a chance for us to support, or chance for you all to support uLaw, a chance for us to see how many of you out there really love using our program, and that you'd like to help us win. So please do participate in the survey and enter your valuable vote there. Today is the last day, so I request you all to make sure to add your vote there before end of the day. We have probably a few hours left, but every vote counts. I'm sure few of you are here. Please do enter your vote. Thank you all. I'm assuming there are no questions. But if you have any, please email us on support@uLawPractice.com. I've entered the email here for your convenience. There can be some questions that might be related to today's topic, that might not be related to today's topic, but we welcome all sort of questions. I think any question unanswered is going to be a problem in future, but feel free to reach out to uLawPractice support, and we'll be happy to assist you all. Thank you all. I'd like to end the session. I'm going to end the recording, else it's going to be too long. Have a wonderful weekend. We have a new topic that's going to be introduced next week. It's on Google integration, if I'm not wrong. It's also about how Google and uLaw works. So various uLaw and Google related topics are going to be discussed there. So please do make some time and be there. And thank you all. Thank you. Have a very nice weekend.